In the mid-1980s, the world of the Sunset Strip belonged to Poison, the reigning champions of the glitter scene. Behind their tough exteriors of teased hair and leather jackets, their anthems, like Every Rose Has Its Thorn, hinted at a more sensitive side. But as the calendar flipped to the 90s, Poison's story took an unexpected twist. In the midst of the iconic MTV Video Music Awards, Poison was about to take the stage. However, it quickly became apparent that this performance was on the verge of chaos. It was a train wreck from start to finish, and every note seemed to signal tensions growing within the band. So, what really went down on that wild night? Join us as we revisit Poison's disastrous 1991 VMA performance, a tale of glitz, glamour, and utter disaster. Originating from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania in 1983, Poison quickly rose to stardom as one of the leading acts in the 80s glam metal scene. The band's original lineup consisted of lead vocalist Bret Michaels, guitarist Matt Smith, later replaced by C.C. DeVille, bassist Bobby Dahl, and drummer Ricky Rocket. With their catchy tunes and a flashy glam rock image characterized by big hair, tight leather outfits, and abundant makeup, Poison became iconic figures of the era. Their breakthrough came in 1988 with the release of the album Open Up and Say Ah! This record featured chart toppers like Nothing But a Good Time and the heartfelt power ballad Every Rose Has Its Thorn. The latter became a massive hit and is still remembered as one of the quintessential power ballads of the time. Poison's unique ability to deliver both high-energy rock anthems and emotional ballads endeared them to a diverse fan base. Even as the 90s ushered in the popularity of alternative music, Poison continued to thrive, thanks to their 1990 album Flesh and Blood. This album featured hits like Unskinny Bop and Something to Believe In, solidifying their status in the music industry and retaining a loyal following. During that time, Poison found themselves in a challenging position. Despite their past successes, 6 years of non-stop touring and working closely together had taken a toll on the band. The strains of constant travel, performances, and close collaboration were wearing them down. Behind the scenes, simmering tensions, particularly between their charismatic lead singer Bret Michaels and the flamboyant guitarist C.C. DeVille, were bubbling to the surface. To make matters even more complicated, C.C. was grappling with a drug addiction, which added another layer of complexity to the group's already tense dynamics. Substance abuse issues not only exacerbated the conflicts, but also raised serious concerns about the band's future. The situation had grown so dire that a few months prior to their disastrous VMA performance, Bret and CeCe had a physical altercation during a live show in New Orleans. This public display of discord was a stark indicator of how deep the divisions had become within the band. The atmosphere within Poison was strained, and the band's fans and the music industry were speculating about the possibility of a breakup. Fast forward to the MTV VMAs, and the band was all set to perform their hit Unskinny Bop. But right from the get-go, there were warning signs that the performance might turn into a disaster. The exact details of what went wrong that night are not entirely clear, and the full footage isn't currently available on YouTube. However, what is known is that the performance was a complete chaos. When Poison took the stage, they did so during a commercial break. C.C. DeVille, possibly unaware of the live broadcast timing, began playing the riff from their hit song Unskinny Bop. The rest of the band joined in, and the song was well underway when the live broadcast suddenly returned. Realizing the mix-up, they abruptly stopped, leading to a few seconds of awkward dead air. Arsenio Hall, the host, had to step in quickly to improvise an introduction to make sense of the situation. The real calamity occurred when Bret Michaels, perhaps in an attempt to salvage the performance, shouted to the audience, "Are you ready to talk dirty to me?" The plan was to transition back into Unskinny Bop. However, this cue triggered C.C. DeVille to start playing Talk Dirty to Me, one of their earlier hits from 1987. The rest of the band tried to adapt and follow along, but the result was a shambolic, chaotic mess. As the performance reached its climax, Bret Michaels acknowledged the disaster, humorously remarking, "It ain't perfect, but it's rock and roll." The band somehow managed to stumble through the rest of the song, but the damage was done, and Poison's reputation took a significant hit. Backstage, things got really heated between Bret Michaels and CeCe DeVille, and they ended up in a major physical fight. This fighting had been going on for a while, and it was a big problem for the band. After their MTV VMA performance disaster, CeCe DeVille was kicked out of the band. In his place, they brought in Richie Kotzen. But CeCe DeVille's struggles with drugs continued, and he started a solo career. The band released their next album, Native Tongue, and it was a big change from their usual style. Critics liked it, but there was a problem. See, a new type of music called alternative rock was getting super popular, and it was taking the spotlight away from glam metal. This made it tough for Native Tongue to sell well. In Native Tongue, Poison went for a more bluesy sound and sang about deeper stuff. It was quite a shift from their fun party image, and some fans might have been surprised by it. Just when things were settling down, Richie Kotzen, the new guitarist, got into a big mess. He had a romantic fling with Ricky Rocket's fiancée at the time, causing a lot of chaos. This ended Richie's time with the band. In 1994, they started working on their sixth album, Crack a Smile. But in May of that year, Bret Michaels, the lead singer, got into a terrible car crash. He suffered lots of injuries, including a broken nose, ribs, jaw, fingers, and even lost 4 teeth. In 1995, Poison was ready to get back to work on their album. However, their record label had other ideas. They decided to put out a greatest hits compilation instead. This turned out to be a smart move. The compilation album was released in late 1996 and became a huge hit, earning double platinum status. It was clear that Poison's popularity had stood the test of time. During that same year, something quite remarkable happened. CeCe DeVille, who had left the band earlier, returned, and he and singer Bret Michaels managed to patch up their differences. This was a significant turning point in Poison's history. With the original lineup back together, the band could move forward with a sense of unity. Fast forward to 2006, and the drama was far from over. During a live performance in Atlanta, Bret Michaels and Bobby Dahl, the bassist, nearly got into a physical fight on stage, highlighting the band's long history of internal conflicts. At that moment, Bret Michaels even hinted that the bands might have just witnessed the last ever Poison show. Fortunately, the band members were able to resolve their differences. However, Michaels' words from that night lingered when he said, quote, "We're like brothers. And sometimes brothers want to knock the bleep out of each other." In 2010, Bret Michaels faced a series of health crises, but thankfully he made a full recovery. During this tumultuous year, Bret Michaels also released an album called Custom Built. Half of the new album included previously released solo material. The album's lead single, Nothing to Lose, featured pop singer Miley Cyrus and became the most added song to radio during its release week. While the album received mixed to negative reviews, it managed to reach the 14th position on the US Billboard 200 chart, topping both the independent albums and hard rock albums charts. This was a significant achievement for a member of Poison since the release of Flesh and Blood in 1990. In 2011, Poison announced a summer tour, the Glamageddon 25-30-40 tour, alongside Motley Crue and New York Dolls. In 2012, Poison and Def Leppard embarked on the Rock of Ages tour, named after their 1983 song and the 2012 motion picture of the same name, in which the songs of both bands played a central role. Bret Michaels also resumed his Get Your Rock On solo tour. After completing the Rock of Ages tour, the band members pursued individual projects, with joint projects remaining in the realm of announcements. Michaels continued touring, predominantly performing Poison's single releases with his solo band. In June of 2013, he released Jammin' with Friends, which featured re-recorded alternate versions of Poison and Michaels' solo tracks and peaked at number 80 on the Billboard 200. In 2017, Poison embarked on a co-headlining tour with Def Leppard and special guest Tesla throughout the spring and summer, celebrating their 30-year anniversary. The Nothing But a Good Time tour featured opening acts Cheap Trick and Pop Evil and ran from May 18th to July 1st. In 2019, Bret Michaels announced his autobiography titled Unbroken: My Life in Pictures and Stories, set to be released in 2020. The release was to coincide with his single Unbroken. This project had initially been titled Roses and Thorns when Michaels first started working on it in 2010, but had been repeatedly delayed to include more content. In May of 2020, Bret Michaels' Autoscrapography Volume 1, My Life in Pictures and Stories, was released as the first in a series of trilogies. More recently, Poison toured North America as an opening act for Motley Crue and Def Leppard alongside Joan Jett for the Stadium Tour from June 16th to September 9th, 2022. This tour was originally scheduled for the summer of 2020, but was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. During the tour, Bret Michaels expressed uncertainty about the band recording another album, but hoped they would write and record another song that captured the essence of their earlier hits. If you enjoyed this musical journey through Poison's history, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more engaging content about music history.